Hello, Facebook. Happy Thursday afternoon before Labor Day weekend. It is a glorious day. I hope wherever you are having anything like the glorious weather we're having here in Salisbury today. I spent the first half of the day looking out my office window, trying to invent excuses to go outside, and finally, thankfully, I had one. And I just came from one of my favorite annual events. It's this weekend at Lime Rock Park. It is their vintage racing weekend, and it's kicked off by a parade of historic cars that tour through town. And I always watch that parade at Noble Horizons. It's where my mother lived in the last years of her life, and it was a really great ritual to go over there and watch it with her and all the other residents. And now in particular, I go over and I discover all these people who knew my mom, who I didn't even know knew my mom. And so it's really fun to be with them, and all the cars, I think all the drivers make a really special effort to slow down and honk their horns and be with all the people there. And so that was really fun. Another thing that I actually experienced today, I had a visit from a census worker. This is the privacy form from the census. So the census work is so critical to the whole country, but it is certainly critical for our corner of the world, to make sure that everybody is counted and that we, honestly get the resources that we should get. There's a lot of data to suggest that we are undercounted in many ways in the northwest corner, because we live down long driveways and sometimes are hard to find. So if a census worker comes to you, I hope you embrace them and give them the information. That information is private, and there are serious penalties about sharing it inappropriately. So you should feel like that information is protected, and have confidence in it. If you have any questions, please reach out, because it's really important work, and we want to make sure that it's done correctly and thoroughly and appropriately. So I was glad to see the woman who showed up my door to do the census work. Another favorite thing I got to do this week, and I actually see that Melissa Chernisky is watching this, so I'm about to talk about your son, Melissa. I got to go to his Eagle Scout Court of Honor this weekend, which was such a pleasure. And I had a real moment of, I just want to read the Scout's oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. That is really, there's a lot of important concepts in that oath. And to be with such an impressive young man and other men who've taken this oath and done a lot for their communities, living by those words. And as we discussed that day, these aren't just empty principles, these are really lived principles. And we as a community, we're so proud to be standing there with Aiden and honor all the work that he's already done for his community, and to look forward to being committed to him going forward. So that was really fun, and I think just an impressive moment to think about what it means to live in community. And we really do that in rural communities. We depend upon one another, and to put others first and to take care of others is not something that, I think that's something maybe that's in a little shorter supply these days than should be. So it's nice to have a moment to honor that. So in terms of what other things I've been up to, I just figured I'm doing a lot of, going through email and doing to-do lists like this. This is it's several pages long, but categorizing things into read, research, respond, schedule, and various other things. Among other things, I wanted to highlight that I have heard from a lot of you with really good ideas, pointing out problems, challenges with legislation that was passed several years ago or just this year, and suggestions for how to straighten out those problems, or issues that might be addressed with a legislative solution. And so today I sent in a whole bunch of research requests. And so I really want to thank those of you who have sent them to me. It's really, I've heard from a lot of thoughtful and experienced people from all, walks of life and all over the region. And I've learned a lot from you. So I want to thank you for that. The other thing I want to note, I have been noting, I don't want to talk about summer in the past tense because it is still August technically, but I still, having spent so many years in school myself, and having put 3 kids through school and who are now in the final phases of that in college, I still the school calendar lives in me even more than the annual calendar, and so September always feels like the beginning of a new year. Incoming call. So as I've said, it's there's a lot of changes, getting ready back to school, getting the supplies you need for school. And for some families, that means medical supplies. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight is the EpiPens, because we passed some legislation about that this year. And the cost of EpiPens to deal with allergies has just skyrocketed. And I'll put some details in the newsletter about that. And I will put some details in there, particularly about places for you to access them and get EpiPens at a more affordable rate in order to have one on hand in your school, because that's a life-saving device, and I know that some colleagues of mine worked really hard on that legislation, so I'm proud to be part of that. Also, as the cooler weather, reminds us that there is, in this part of the world, much colder weather that lies in wait for us, and some people in our communities are going to need help paying for your heating bills. And we just had a hearing in the Appropriations Committee about funding for those kinds of programs. And so I want to put information in the newsletter as well about how to access resources to make sure that everyone, all of us in our community, stays safe and warm this winter, and how to get resources that can help you with that. So so looking forward, a couple things. One, having spent a lot of time hiking on my vacation, I've now got the hiking bug, and we have so many beautiful areas, both, this isn't just in the woods. There are great urban hikes, actually, to do in towns, through towns, and through incredible both private and public lands throughout our region. And so I'm going to try to highlight some different hikes in the state and see if I can get some of you to join me on them. And so I've been speaking to some people working in land conservation who have suggested some things to me, so stay tuned to that. And of course, this weekend we have 2 big events. I've already mentioned the Landmark Parks Vintage Car Weekend, which is really fun and goes on all starting, it was kicked off with the parade today, but the racing events, I think, start tomorrow and run through the weekend. So please check that out. And also it's the weekend of the Goshen Fair, which is a really fun ritual for all of us around here. And I hope to see you there. I'll be there on Saturday, midday sometime. So that's about it. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week when it's September. Hikes.